And we're live. Let's get started. So, Media Library is a centralized place to manage your organization's assets, like your images, files, and videos, and it lives alongside your content. So, you upload a picture of a bike, and you can reference the bike product document that lives in Studio. And you can attach any structured content to your assets. So, instead of them just being files, they tell more of a story. What's the licensing information attached to them? Who's the model shown in the photo? But I'm not going to talk anymore about Media Library because I'm joined by Bram, a solution architect at Sanity, who taught me about Media Library. He helps large enterprise customers implement Sanity, and he does it over and over and over again. So he knows the patterns that work and the patterns that don't work. I got to see this presentation actually yesterday as a little bit of a warm up, and I learned so much from it. So I'm really excited for everybody else to get to see it. If you have questions along the way, drop them on the right hand side. We may field them throughout this at the end or after, but we'll get them answered. And on that note, Bram, take it away.
Thanks, John. Yeah, thanks for the intro. I will also just share my screen so um, I have something to talk with. Um, yeah, hey everyone. Welcome to the session. I'm Bram. I'm a solution architect at Sanity, joining you from the Netherlands today. So, in today's session, I just wanted to show you something that fundamentally changed the way how you work with media when you're using Sanity. Um, I have a little agenda over here. So, um, at first, we will go over the current challenges, also where Media Library sits um, in there. I have some demo for you. We will go over licensing, the aspects, asset versioning, streaming video, and later there's some room for a Q&A. So, let me paint a picture of what we hear from teams all of the time. You have assets like scattered everywhere, product images in one DAM, campaign assets maybe in Google Drive, some stuff in a CMS plugin that's siloed per data set. So three big pains come up over and over. So we have scattered and siloed assets everywhere. There is no single source of truth. Teams may be re-uploading the same image 5 different times because they cannot find the original. Um, Second one is like weak governance. We have some assets that aren't supposed to go live yet, license images that expire, but there's no way to control this. And third, it doesn't really scale that well. So maybe you started with a CMS image picker, but now you have like 50,000 assets and it's just failing for you. Or you have like a traditional DAM, but it's like completely disconnected from your content workflow. So here is just like a little image of the silos. And I will also show you where Media Library sits. So actually, when you're looking at this of the full Sanity content operating system, we have Media Library here in the content application layer. Sanity Studio is also in the content application layer. So this are all of the applications that provide content to your content lake. And the content lake is actually where your data lives. Um, so what is this Sanity Media Library that we're actually talking about? Sanity Media Library is like built on the same content operating system that the studio is like built on. So we have structured content, integrated workflows, on-demand optimization, governance controls, usage tracking, and validation. Um, but what is actually the problem that we are trying to solve with Media Library? So we saw that images are or assets are like disconnected. It's managed in an inefficient way, um, and the managing of it is risky because there is no visibility or access control. Means that expired or maybe unlicensed assets slip into production. Um, so Sanity Media Library is like built into your content operating system. So assets and content operate in the same workflows. Your flexible access, validations, and users tracking. And it's also designed for enterprise performance and growth. So again, I want to emphasize that media isn't really an afterthought. It is content and should be content with structure, workflows, and governance. Um, we also saw that with Media Library, we have like faster launches. So customers launch 20 to 30% faster by really eliminating the handoff, duplication, and all of the rework. Um, so yeah, Media Library solves this by being a content connected layer onto your whole content lake. So it's not a separate system you integrate with. It's really built on the same foundation as the Sanity Studio, same ecosystem, the same users, and maybe different roles, but everything really integrates with each other. Um, Let me show you what this actually looks like, guy, because I have prepared a little demo for everyone. So, um, yeah, I've just navigated over to Sanity Dashboard. So, Sanity Dashboard is actually like the place where my studios live, but also Media Library, where all of the content apps live. Because um, on a previous slide where I showed like the whole bow of the things of the whole content operating system, there were also Canvas and also like Studios and other apps. Also the Content Agent, which there was a blog post about yesterday. So definitely check that one out. But this is like dashboard. This is like my starting place. So right now I would just head into the media library. So this is the media library, and um, one of the key things is that media library sits into your organization and not inside a project or within a data set. So it's really like next to your Sanity Studios, you have your media library. Um, so we have Sanity, and Sanity is like a cycling brand. So this is like the organization of Sanity where I'm going to do this demo in. Um, Sanity is like a cycling brand. So they have bikes, gear, blog posts, but also models that are in the shoots. They have photo shoots, but the models have also contracts. So the first thing that you notice that there is already some structure here. There are some images, some videos, some PDFs. There are some collections in here where I can look into. Um, but I would just start by just searching for things, because what actually happens when you like upload an asset to media library, there's some processing done. You can also add your own processing into that part, but Sanity by default does some processing. So, for example, if I search for knitted, um, there are some assets like returned, and it's actually funny because, for example, in this asset, there's just chunky wool sweater, but it never says that it's knitted. What I can also do is like balloon knitted. So I don't know why this thing shows up, but this thing is definitely balloon knitted. Um, so it's good to know that these results aren't for manual tagging. So whenever you upload an image to the media library, um, we automatically run processing to understand what is actually in the image. This happens like under the hood, so there's no configuration needed. So now the team can like search into their natural language. They don't need to remember exact file names or tags. They can, but they can like filter on that. So for example, there's like the file name on here. So I can also filter on the file name, but I will get back on filtering later. Um, yeah, so one more thing also to notice what media library really differs is that it has some kind of connection to your content. So at the top here, we see the in use badge. I will just click it and you can see that it's actually like in use. So this is really like connected content to content that live in your Sanity Studio. But one thing that also is in here is like a thing called aspects. So what are aspects? You might think. So aspects are things that contain information about the asset itself. Um, and it's quite nice that it's stored like on the asset. And as aspects are queryable from the front end itself. So for example, on this image, we see that we can add different aspects. We can have the photo shoot aspect, the product aspect. And whenever I add this product aspect to it, I can just search, but I can see what's in there. So there are some products in here, and it's actually cool. But because these products are coming from the Sanity Studio. So there's really integration here. But I don't want to do anything with this product aspect right now. I'm just looking at the image license. So I can have the source, the photographer that actually took the image. I have some license on this image. And again, if you're these aspects are managed through code right now. So if you're like familiar with building schemas for your Sanity Studio, you're gonna be familiar with the way how to create aspects, and you can deploy them to the media library itself. So this can be really tailored to the business needs that you have. But in this case, we have the business need that we want some territories, or some maybe um, print or digital or social media, or maybe an expiry date. And if we are selecting assets from the studio, we can like filter on those things. So back to um, back to that. Um, yes, but also one thing that we can also filter on these kind of aspects. So what I'm like going to do right now, you can see that these aspects are like populated in the filter. I can filter maybe on the model, because you already saw that the model is coming from the Sanity Studio. So these are all of the pictures where the model Adriana is tagged into. So I can really see that the model and the size and the photo shoot are on this image itself. There were also videos, and again, the same thing applies for videos. So this is a video, and the same thing applies then. So whenever I uh, open up this list, there were all of the models also in there. So these aren't just tags; these is just structured content entries, things that have names, profile, yeah, whatever Sanity needs to track. Yeah. So for example, I can like also see where these assets are in use. So for example, if I like go back to the color blue, um, I get all of the blue images, but I want to go to the blue knitted thing. So I can see that this is in use. So from this place, I can like go to the actual place where the asset is in use. And I know for a fact that it's in use on a place called, I would just go into presentation, and it's just enabling the draft mode for me. So this will get the website as a visitor can also like see this. Um, so for example, I can just go to displays, I disable editing. I will go over here. I think it's in there. The page is loading. So the asset is in use over here. And but now you can like also see what is really funny about this, because if I look into this product, there were some fields on here and there are some images in here, like a woman wearing a white hoodie. This is just the image. And but there is nothing about on this page that refers to Adriana, or maybe the height of Adriana, and that she's wearing medium. But that's all on the asset itself. But where does the height like come from? So whenever I go into the structure, um, I have my models defined over here. So if I go to Adriana, there's the height of Adriana. So this is like the way that this information gets to the front end. So the model is like referenced on the asset. Your front end can fetch the information of the aspect on the front and like load that in, and display that also. Um, so one thing that I also wanted to show you is a thing that's called video, because Media Library doesn't only support images, we can also support video or files. So there are some PDFs in here. I can hit the spacebar and I can preview the PDF. I actually also like the way that everything works, so I can select things with my keyboard in the way that I'm used to in other software. So one thing that's really nice is this. is this asset, because this is the video, and this is streaming video. So previously with uh, when you use Sanity and you want to have video, um, you wouldn't been able to have streaming video and that also reference that within your studio. So one thing that I will just go to do is to see where this video is used. And for example, whenever I go to a product, going to this page, going to gear, going to body protect clothing, to women, and going to hoodies and sweatshirts. So there are some products over here, and I can see in the media that there are some things referenced here. So these images are actually coming from Media Library. Those are like referenced there, um, but also video. So this video, and I can also just play that from like right within my Sanity Studio. So that is pretty nice. One thing that there was also on here, one thing that you can do with Media Library is something called asset versioning. So, for example, we have this image on here. I will just open this on in the presentation tool so it makes a little bit more sense whenever I talk about this. So, if I go to this version, this is actually just this asset, and I will just like look this up within the Media Library now. So I would just go to blue, knitted. There it is. So we've talked about assets or aspects. Sorry, it's very confusing, asset and aspect. But one thing that you can also do is like replace the version. So that's maybe useful for example, whenever you did a photo shoot and the photographer sent you like the first pictures, but there's something wrong with the pictures. So it needs to update maybe the lighting and you want to update that. Or maybe you have a PDF or an Excel file and you published that already across multiple websites, multiple brands, but someone wants to make a change to that. So how do you know where that asset is? Um, what I did, I already uploaded an image that is less blue. So there is a difference between these images. You can upload as much versions as you want by just hitting the upload button on here, upload new version. You can do that on PDFs, images, Excel sheets, everything that you like. And I can also see that this is used in like 2 locations right now. But right now, I want this one to be the new current version. So what I would just do, I would just set this as current and sync all usage. So you see that this is updated right now. Whenever I like go to back to Sanity, you can see that this is also updated over here and you can see it updating everywhere. I didn't even refresh. So the content is like connected in a deeply way and it updates everywhere because there's like a reference to it where it's used. You don't have to update it in every location. You can also pick locations where you want to update it. So yeah, that's the asset versioning. Let me check on my time because I want to make sure that there's enough time for questions afterwards. Yes, so that's a really bird's eye of Media Library. One thing that I didn't really touch is I have a homepage. I have the homepage of my website, and I just wanted to make sure that I can select only the images that are like able for me to select. So this is like my homepage, and you can see that there's a hero over here, and that has an image. I would just clear this field, and I would just select a new image. And by selecting a new image, this opens the media library within Studio. And you can see that there were already some filtering done for me. So as a developer, I can specify at the image field what filters I want to be populated when someone opens this. For example, I want to have the image license that I permitted use are digital, and maybe I want the file size to be medium. Okay, so these two images are left for me. Um, and what I right now can do, I can just like select this. This will be added in here. I have to refresh this because for some reason that there is something wrong under the hood. But whenever I just go back into the presentation tool, there is the new image uh, loaded correctly. I have to be in my own release. There we are. And there we can see whenever that updates that there is the image like loaded in correctly. So to wrap this one up, what you've seen today is how Media Library eliminates the disconnect between media and your content. So you get connected media through aspects and schema integration, the enterprise governance that doesn't slow you down because your users of Sanity are still managed within your organization. So the users that have access to the studio can also have access to Media Library. Um, Cross project sharing from multi brand operation because Media Library sits in your organization and not in your project. So if you have multiple projects or even multiple data sets, a Media Library is like on top of that, and all of the data sets can look into Media Library. We have also cross project sharing and all of those things. So this was it, and I just wanted to thank you all, and I wanted to go back to the Q&A right now. We have, I think, 7 more minutes for some questions. Yeah, thanks a lot. Hey, Shilpa.
Hey, and hi everyone. My name's Shilpa. I'm on the post-sale sides of things. So work with all our customers and our accounts. And I saw some really great questions posted here. I wanted to just at least throw one to you. Scott Fuller, really great question. And hello from Toronto.
Hey,
Can
Scott.
I populate assets from Shopify into the media library? And part 2 of this is, can I add multiple product aspects into one asset?
Can I add multiple product aspects into one asset? Do you mean by multiple products, or you just you can add the aspects in the way that you want? So if you have multiple products, or maybe a product and a size, you can add multiple in that. In the aspect, you can refer to a type. So in this case, we refer to the type model or to the type product. Um, so you're actually free in how you want to set that up. And also the first question, can I populate things? You can, because Media Library has like APIs, and you can import a Media Library. It's just like one command. You can export it. You can say Sanity Media export. Out of my head, I don't know, but there is some great documentation on that. You can do things with that, but you can also like import that. So there are just some great documentation on that. Yeah.
Awesome. And thanks, Scott, for providing us more context. He has assets where there are like 4 different products that he
Yeah.
wants to tag.
Or variants maybe. Yeah, yeah, you can. You can, yeah.
Very cool. And we've got another cool question. Thank you, Matthew. I understand an image can have
Yeah.
multiple aspects.
Yeah.
Can these aspects be nested?
If you're like familiar to Sanity and the way that you write schemas, you can have an object, but you can also have maybe an array, or a string or a number. So in the same way as you write a schema for Sanity Studio, you can write also for Media Library. So multiple aspects. Can these aspects be nested? You can create an object within an aspect, but sometimes it doesn't make sense to create that object. It makes more sense to create multiple aspects, depending on how you want to filter things, how you want to look things up. Um, so, yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Let us know your feedback. Okay, perfect. We got a perfect thank you.
Thanks.
Very cool. It sounds like you can do almost anything in Sanity is my take.
Yes, and there is also like more coming because like the team is like really working hard right now also to enable more things. So things that are coming are functions for Media Library, and what you can do is have your own function that triggers when an asset is uploaded, perhaps. And what we right now see a lot under the customers that I'm working with, they want to have localized alt text. So whenever an image is uploaded into the media library, they want to have that described. You can do that with the agent actions that Sanity has, and then translate that into the languages that you have. The same goes for video. So for video, there is like the accessibility guideline that your video has a transcript. Um, but now Sanity can also do that when you have like the function. So for also for accessibility, there are um, really nice ways how the media library can enable you to do things. Yeah. So there are a lot of
Huge.
things coming. Yeah.
That's huge. And for the audience, I know we're coming close on time. If there's any other questions, please feel free to
Yeah.
type those in. One one really cool, like, if you've got other use cases or other questions about how you might consider Media Library for your team, email us. I'll send you a generic kind of email that you have. You also have we have our account management team that can also reach out to you with more information. So feel free to reach out to us. I think there's the there's a lot of possibilities currently, but I think what's very exciting is on top of what we have is that there's going to be this ability. There's going to be more improvements to it.
Yeah.
AI. We got a question on AI, and that may be
Yeah.
something we send you information. Ewood, I didn't want to totally
Ewout.
Awout, sorry.
Ewout Winkelman. Yeah.
Yes,
Hey,
hello.
Ewout.
You asked a question. Let's see if Brom, you know this, but it's just on the AI model
Yeah.
that's used. Or what issues or what privacy compliance aspects are there with this processing? Is there anything we should be concerned about?
Yeah, there is some kind of AI used to indeed classify the information um, of the image. We have some information about how we work with AI at Sanity. There were information about on the Sanity page. We can also like send it later, I think, to Ewout. But there was indeed some AI used uh, to do that. Indeed. Yeah. Hey, Ewout.
Um,
Hi. Yeah.
and
So we
and
can
for
also send it later.
everyone, yeah, we'll send all these questions. We'll send
Yeah,
you any relevant information as well on how AI or compliance that you should be aware of. And we'll get that over to you shortly.
yeah,
Well, thank you, Brom. This was super insightful. Really waiting to hear from customer feedback. Please let us know your thoughts on this webinar, if it was helpful to you, if you didn't know kind of the features, functionalities. We love your feedback. If there's anything else you want to see us do more of, please let us know too.
yeah. Great. Thanks, Shilpa. And thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.